Okay, welcome everyone. This is the regular meeting for the Guam Public Utilities Commission dated March 26, 2026. It is now 6:32 p.m. This meeting is attended by all commissioners except for Chairman Johnson. He is out for the week. We wish him well. We're going to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for February 26, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes subject to technical correction.
Second.
Okay. Motion is passed. All in favor? Aye. Motion is passed. Second item is the Guam Power Authority GPA docket 2606. Petition of the Guam Power Authority to approve the funding of expanded demand side initiatives through Energy Sense account. We have an ALJ report and vote of order. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. It's been a while since the demand side management program has been before you. I think it was last in probably year 2020. But this program has been approved since about 2013 and 2014, and it developed through a cooperative effort of the PUC and GPA. Tonight we have 11 additional initiatives that GPA is proposing for the DSM program. It was in 2014 that the PUC had ordered the ALJ to work with GPA to establish a demand side management program. And as I'm sure you know, in terms of power, we have the supply side, which involves power plants and supplying the energy through generation. But the demand side looks more at customer use of the power and how to encourage customers to either use more efficient appliances or to introduce measures that will encourage customers to be efficient in their use of energy. In 2015, the PUC approved GPA's plan to implement 4 demand-side management programs. Those included central AC, ductless AC, washer, and dryer. In 2017, the PUC approved 10 additional DSM program initiatives, which included energy audits, certain commercial air conditioning initiatives, commercial lighting, water heating, and others. In docket 2005, the PUC approved the use of LEAC funding to pay for DSM programming through the Energy Sense account. The PUC found that the DSM program was beneficial to ratepayers in Guam because it reduced energy consumption sourced from high-cost fuel or diesel oil. Funding through LEAC was established in the amount of $1.5 million for each 6-month LEAC period, with a per kilowatt charge of 0.003 cents on all meters read on or after July 1, 2020. True-ups of the LEAC funding were to be conducted by GPA in every LEAC proceeding. Requests for LEAC funding would be subject to approval by the PUC. GPA was required to place all funds obtained for DSM from LEAC in the Energy Sense account. In this matter, in GPA Resolution FY 202610, the Consolidated Commission on Utilities requested that the PUC approve these 11 new additional programs, DSM programs, and supporting infrastructure. It's been established through a number of prior decisions that the PUC must approve any funding for DSM from LEAC. GPA's proposal here is 11 additional DSM initiatives, and just briefly to list them: electric vehicle managed charging services pilot, hot water controller, 100-unit pilot, home area network services, new online home energy assessment, commercial LED expansion, electrical transient analyzer program, PV design and calculation annual software, membership subscription for commercial lighting, generation expansion planning software, Hitachi, home energy audit tools, and LEAC DSM savings report. And all of these were listed in the attachment A to the GPA petition and gave a brief explanation of what each of the programs entail. It should be pointed out that the total combined cost for these projects for calendar year 2026 and 2027 is $1,293,000, and in calendar year 2026, $786,500, calendar year 2027, $506,500. Since the program has not been before you for a while, I thought I'd give a brief summary of kind of where it's been, what its funding is, and what the current balance of funds is. On February 24, 2024, UFS, that's the consultant of GPA, had issued its report titled Demand Side Management Review. And at that time, there was a balance of $5.3 million in the Energy Sense account. Between June of 2020 and July of 2023, there was an over-collection of DSM funds from LEAC in the amount of $2,421,399. Based upon that UFS report, in GPA docket 2408, GPA had petitioned to reduce the DSM component of the LEAC to zero charge per kilowatt hour. So in other words, since February of 2024, a period of over 2 years, the ratepayers have not been charged any additional amounts for the DSM program through LEAC. The current balance for DSM funds in the Energy Sense account is $1.8 million. These funds can be used in part to fund the initiatives proposed by GPA. The prior charge of 0.003 cents per kilowatt hour generated approximately $1.9 million per 6-month LEAC period, which was more than the budgeted amount of $1.5 million per LEAC period. So yearly, it's a $3 million budget. It's clear that at some point, GPA will come back and ask that that amount be reinstituted and that LEAC again be charged for the DSM program. And when it does so, it will have to have the prior approval of the PUC. At that time, the PUC can consider the charge per kilowatt hour. It may alter it because in the past it produced more than the budgeted level. GPA indicates that for these additional initiatives, there will be no increase in the budget. It will remain the same at $3 million annual DSM budget. When GPA proposes to activate a new LEAC charge, the factor can be adjusted by the PUC. So you may decide on less if that's sufficient to produce the 1.5 million per 6-month LEAC period. GPA has provided a substantial justification for these new proposed initiatives. In addition to the justifications in attachment A, they've submitted a substantial amount of materials in response to the request for information that the ALJ had propounded to them. We have thousands of pages of documents that were produced supporting these initiatives. GPA is seeking to expand the DSM offerings to include load shifting, controllable demand, improve forecasting of renewable generation, managed electrical vehicle charging, and analytical tools that shape and control energy consumption. These are not really new initiatives. Some of them were actually approved before, but all of them seek to continue and modernize the existing DSM portfolio. Demand response refers to a range of programs intended to reduce energy consumption during specific times of the day, specific day types, and or during system peak days. It is achieved, that is demand response, either through incentivized behavioral changes or direct control of end uses, and is typically enabled by real-time meter data and two-way detailed data communication between the customer site and the utility. I thought I should briefly give a description to you of what these programs are, but I won't go into too much detail. The EV managed charging services. Here there is a pilot program proposed. GPA already has a contractor that's been selected, Flow EV, to implement a pilot study to evaluate load management strategies, customer participation, and grid impacts. And what they're really looking to do is to encourage the owners of the electric vehicles to charge them during the day when there's plenty of solar power, rather than at night when the demand is high. So it's designed to change the customer charging activities of their vehicles. That's the main prospect. Second is the water heater controller 100-unit pilot, and this will treat water heaters as a form of thermal energy storage, enabling the shifting of heating load, again, to off-peak hours and times of higher renewable generation, similar to the EV vehicles. Home area network devices will interface with GPA's advanced metering infrastructure and allow customers to access near real-time energy usage data. This will provide customer alerts, peak time notifications, load visibility, potential integration with controllable end-use technologies. New online home energy assessment tool. GPA plans to procure a new online energy audit platform to ensure continuity of digital audit services and uninterrupted access for customers seeking to evaluate energy efficiency improvements and participate in rebate programs. There'll be a commercial LED expansion and automation of rebate applications. The commercial LED rebate program has been an approved initiative under prior GPA docket. GPA plans to enhance the online rebate platform to make it easier for customers to process their rebates. Electrical Transient Analyzer Program, ETAP. This provides analytical capabilities to model grid impacts, assess load shifting strategies, and evaluates the system level effects of DSM measures. And the user here will be the GPA engineering department to try to assess the capabilities of these different models. PV system. This software supports system evaluation, performance validation, and production forecasting for distributed solar installations. Then we have the Design Lights Consortium subscription. This provides an industry-recognized technical standard for high-efficiency commercial lighting projects or products. Generation expansion planning software, Hitachi. This software enables comparative analysis of demand-side measures versus generation additions, quantifies avoided capacity impacts, and supports optimization of DSM within GPA's overall resource portfolio. Home energy audit tools are already a part of the program, but GPA will provide calibrated diagnostic instruments and field instruments equipment needed to evaluate building performance, equipment operation, load profiles, and the development of accurate energy savings reports. And finally, the LEAC DSM savings report. These, I believe, will be prepared by a GPA consultant, UFS, and will gauge the success of the program. It should be actually during each LEAC proceeding. During the LEAC proceeding, there's already a docket that required GPA to provide substantial information in the PUC about the effectiveness of the program. In evaluating the proposed initiatives, GPA really provided a substantial amount of material here. There are exhibits, I believe it was E and F, and perhaps G, for thousands of pages that really went into each program substantially and pointed out how each of these proposals will contribute to the DSM program. GPA has established that payment for these initiatives can be covered within the existing LEAC budget of $3 million per year. The initiatives are fully supported by GPA consultant analysis and prior directed commission planning documents. Those were developed in the early days of the program. From a due diligence standpoint, GPA has performed internal technical and operational evaluation of the proposed initiatives. These initiatives will greatly improve the existing DSM program and are reasonable, prudent, and necessary. It's the ALJ's recommendation that the PUC approve the 11 proposed initiatives. If GPA chooses to reactivate the $1.5 million DSM funding per LEAC period, it must obtain the prior approval of the PUC. And the PUC, in its order, should remind GPA to comply with the reporting requirements of the order in GPA docket 2005. And those were substantial. The true-up report is supposed to indicate, and that's for each LEAC proceeding, the total amount of funds collected in the prior LEAC period for DSM and the extent to which such amount was an over or under recovery of the 1.5 million. Each GPA report for each LEAC period will include a complete accounting of all amounts expended by GPA during the prior LEAC period for DSM, including rebates, program costs, and every expenditure of every nature. The report will include estimated fuel savings during the prior LEAC period resulting from the program. So I have submitted a proposed order for your consideration that would approve these 11 initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Any comments from GPA?
Some brief comments, Mr. Chairman. GPA totally supports the DSM program. One may say why in terms of what it does, but there's two significant ways to keep our customer happy. One is to reduce the rates, and secondly is to reduce the consumption. Everything in DSM is really towards reducing the consumption of the ratepayer. So therefore, there are a lot of very happy ratepayers out there. Case in point, I think we have over, I lost track of the number, but over 30,000 applicants for rebates for renewables. Some of you may go back as far as I have, where air conditioners used to be sold at $99, advertised. And window airers are one of the most inefficient air conditioners. Now, if you look around, thing is, air conditioners are being sold highly efficient, GPA rebate. So that's what's been happening. And I see the results. I look and I say to myself, Poseidon has been growing, getting more and more customers. How come the demand is not as high as it was? It's not going up and up and up. 266, our demand last year, it was 3 or 4 years before that, it was 266. we have been doing. But again, I think what the island has been doing is been right-sizing its efficiency and air conditioners. Because that's the biggest load user. So again, we support everything we do with demand side management, of course. Directly, it's directly related to the fuel component, which is again similar to the commissions and GPNCC's goal is to reduce our import of oil. When we do this, we reduce our import of oil. We complete the Gokulu power plant, we'll be reducing 1 million barrels of oil a year. Within phase 4, that's another 1 million barrels a year. Last I saw was for every dollar we spend, there's $7 of value to the rate. So again, since we've been busy, but now I think our team is ready to move forward in some of these other programs, one of which of the water heater. I think it's a pilot project for demand side management. However, we do have a lot of capacity coming up, but more importantly, I think we can use that as a model to show our customers that if they do this way with water heaters, they can actually save a lot of money. Instead of keeping the water heater on all the time, different things like that. So a lot of this information that we can use to, provide our customers as testimony to reduction of their bills can be provided from these programs that we're following. So with that, Mr. Chair, to support and thank you for always again supporting the demand side management program. The 1.5 was at a time when applications were really coming in. They're still coming in, we track it every month, but now it's at a slower pace. So that's telling me that a lot of the homes already have become energy efficient, but to keep it up, new homes, they don't have that rebate, contractors and others are certainly going to head towards just buying air conditioners. So with that, I ask your approval of this.
Thank you, John. Is there, do you guys have a number on of the 30,000 applicants, like what the approval rate is? Or do they all get approved at some point, or is there?
Nancy?
Sure.
So we did a report and we submitted it to the PUC, I think a couple of years ago. It was by UFS and my staff. And that report evaluated the program over a certain number of years. And they said for a cost of $6 million in total rebates, there was $26 million in direct customer savings in terms of energy. And there was a deferral of capacity, a reduction in capacity growth by about 10.1 megawatts. So John Beneventi has said, our load doesn't seem to be going up, but we have a lot of new customers that are coming in and providing that load. That's being offset by the DSM program.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
And the cost of that deferral in terms of deferred capacity is on the order of about 27 million.
Yeah, I think I was asking more in the application process, like of the 30,000 applicants that people are turning in to get a rebate, how many are actually being processed and approved?
Okay.
We can provide that, but basically everyone is approved. We have a standard because the machines are pre-approved since we just going through the procedure. And there's a certification that is installed. The good news is I think last year or so we started doing a lot of this online. So it's a process. We'll get a report back to you.
So about 47% of all applications that are conforming, meaning there's no mistakes on them, are completed from application date to check, cut in 30 days or less. So we've gone by going a digital transformation and putting the application online. We've saved a heck of a lot of time and money in terms of processing those applications and speeding the applications through the process.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners?
57%.
Any additional incentives on the horizon for adding, so you added 11 on this one, on the next one?
Additional incentives, you said?
The initiatives.
Any other
Yes, sir.
plans in the pipeline?
Yes, there are several.
Yeah.
There are several. For instance, that pilot program with the thermal energy storage, if we have 600 residential customers that use hot water heating during peak time, and we're able to shift it, that's 1 megawatt I can shift in the daytime to heat solar rather than to put additional batteries. Right? We're also looking at a battery energy storage system, rebate program, about $300 per kilowatt hour battery. Right? That's already on the list of approved programs out of that 10 or 11 that were approved by the PUC several years ago. So we haven't stopped sharpening the pencil or trying to complete the entirety of the DSM program as we had it since envisioned and planned for in 2016, 2017.
So that question is not one you want to ask John Cruz. Because he'll give you, you weren't sure of ideas, for example, even the battery. So my thought on that is we're providing the centralized battery, so we'll look at that a little closer. But again, those are the similar things that are with outline.
Yeah, the approved program from the PUC is a customer-based residential battery incentive program. So for that $300 kilowatt hour per battery, GBA would have the right to control that battery so that we could shift loads and use it to manage our peak a lot better. So, okay.
Will there be an educational program so that customers are aware of, like for instance, the water heater pilot program? Will there be, like how will that work? Because a lot of times people have to become educated before they can participate.
Yes, certainly. We've really been working on bringing out a lot of the things that could help with us. But including again, part of this program is to provide them online scenarios, so we're going to have to log that. Secondly, we also are training our customers and our employees to do actual audits. As and then again we'll promote that once we're here at that point. So yes, we will be going in that.
Yeah. That was my next question was on the home energy audits. Approximately how many customers have you done, and the savings from that?
I think the last numbers I saw were like close to 3,000. I've been engaged in the online audit.
On home energy?
Yeah. We have had a training program and added an additional 5 people who are certified energy managers and certified energy auditors. So internally, in multiple divisions, we have the capability to actually do physical audits of that. So in conjunction with physical audits and the online audits, right, we hope to help customers like us a little bit more.
So how do, for example, I am interested in the home energy, so how does a customer apply for that?
We haven't rolled out the program yet because
Yeah.
we've tried to get increase the number of people within our mighty departments, right? But once we do, they would be able to sign up online for through customer services. And there'll be brochures. We spent a bit of money on customer outreach and on customer marketing. So Joyce Sayama, our communication manager, is part of that. And so we try to get the latest information on DSM activities and DSM services out there to the public.
So, you want to get to what I can do today with my house in Las Vegas, to control the aircon at what's the temperature, and I control the heating and and then I get notices from the utility. This is your average consumption. After 15 days, your bill will be in 30 days. So those are things that we're going to be rolling out. We'll be here shortly. We've been busy with Ukudu and all of that, and now we're putting out that into the grid. Now we need to, again, helping the customers, but also the overall grid.
The home area network is not only a portal into real-time information. A lot of customers have come to us and said they really like that My Energy. But My Energy provides you a snapshot of your previous day. And a lot of people were engaging our customer services representative and saying, is there anything that can give us something quickly, right, and more immediate? And so that home area network meets those desires from the customer, as well as is able to merge the metering data along with home efficiency networks like Smart and Ring.
Right.
Yeah. So
I was saying, I have that at my house now, which it's hooked up to like Alexa or to the home network.
Yep.
And but it doesn't talk to the utility, so it tells you like what you're performing. So that's an interesting direction and the path that you guys are going. I do have one question on the EV charging. I guess you had like some scheduled tier rates suggested, like you were talking about charging during the day while the solar and the sun's out versus at night. Does that conflict with the actual working schedule? I mean, people go to work during the day, so how will they take advantage of those lower rates charging in the day if they're home at night?
So there is an inch before John Benemetti, we brought him into the fold about using, instead of charging the full react value during the day for the chargers, we would charge them the rate for our lowest renewable energy. And so that would be a substantial difference and encourage customers to charge during the day. So that's kind of like a time of use rate.
Yeah, like
but it's executed a little bit differently.
More incentive driven than it is time of use.
Oh, we're going, as a follow-up, what about these fast charging? We're hearing, like 10 minutes to charge now. How long, prior, the discouragement that it took all night long to, so are these charging stations going to be fast, or how long on average?
So in the pilot, right, we're going to use level 2 chargers, which can provide a full charge within, about 6 to 48 hours, 48 hours, as opposed to level 1 chargers, which most customers are using, which can take 14 hours. And then we're also going to have a DC fast charger.
Did you say 4 to 8 hours?
Not 48, okay.
Not 48 hours.
Still, that's long. That's still very long.
We're gonna go on a 4-day work week.
So level 1 chargers can take up to 14 hours to charge the car. So the fast charger can take you from 20% to 80% charge in like half an hour.
Will that be available?
Yeah. And you don't have to charge up to 80% all the time. I mean, with electric vehicles going 300 miles on one charge.
Is the logic the same? Is the logic the same though when it comes to like if it takes 4 hours or if you use a quick charger, which takes like 1 hour? Are they still achieving the same amount of kilowatts being pumped in? Or even if it's quick charge, you still getting charged the whole amount out of the battery, right?
Yeah, it's really a matter of economics also. can have all that fast charger put out when it's out there, but really, when you get home, you just plug it in. You only run 30 miles
Right.
a day or 10 or 15. So here, especially on the island, you don't travel as much. A lot of those fast chargers really are a benefit when you're traveling you just be last minute, let it run down to the end, right? But otherwise, so again, all of that needs to be looked at in terms of the companies is going to put out infrastructure out there. Is that going to be that's maybe the other there's the other side of the equation as charging between I think this skips now.
Yeah.
Charging between charging between midnight and 6 in the morning. It's when the machines are turned back. We're going from about 200 some megawatts down to 150, 160. Because the loss of the efficiency there. So maybe about that time we can provide an incentive more. Because an incentive is really what's going to make the customers take that. So sometimes that time of the day and the doctor with it. The other thing that we have to look at really is we want hundreds of batteries out there.
Right.
GPA is going through with the centralized battery as approved by the PUC. Part of that objective is really to tax the dock curve, and therefore not have to have anyone really have batteries unless, again, it's a matter of preference, matter of concern that they're stored, but even that, it doesn't guarantee all of that. But those are the things that we're looking. We're trying to minimize the amount of batteries out there by being the battery system of everyone as we do today, except our dock curve is a lot and it's going to get more. So that's why we'll be coming out on bid on the 90 megawatt energy storage battery. Probably monitored.
Okay.
So the chargers that we're putting in have load management capabilities so that we can slow down the charging rate. So like during the peak time, you still can charge your car, but we'll only allow a slower charge. And then after that, we take the, like John says, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? There's a 2-hour window where the loads are really low. We can incentivize them to open up the charging capabilities of that charger.
Yeah. Well, this is all kind of new for Guam though still. I think we're still in that infancy stage. Right, so putting, I haven't seen that many EVs yet on the road, a handful of the people that I know. And the ones I do, but if you go to California, it's everywhere, right? So, and then where does Guam go from home charging to like, they have like charging units like that they'll put out at the banks or at the mall or someplace else. I think Costa Rica was the first one to put one in. Did anybody? I'm not sure if anybody uses those.
It's not even there anymore.
And then who? And then so does that that location pay for those services as a benefit to come into the mall, for example? Right.
So we have an EV managed charging partner, which is Triple J.
Right.
Right. And they've been putting in some chargers throughout. A few chargers, like one in the Ganyan, shopping center, and other places. And we are going to be putting in a charger, both level 2 and fast charger as part of this this pilot project that we're doing.
Right. So they will benefit from the day charge.
Yes, yes. So the way their business model is, they get a part for putting the chargers up, right? The mall or office building gets part for allowing us to use their parking lot.
When you say part, is it a paid fee that the car owner?
There'll be a credit card, debit card.
So the car owner pays for the charge?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a free service. Okay.
There, about 4 years ago, when we started looking at this EV managed charging, we went and did a count, and we found 64 EVs. They're about 500 now, and we expect about 200 in 2027, 700 in 2027.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Penguin.
Yeah, speaking of businesses, are business customers allowed to participate in the DSM program?
Yes.
And what's the percentage of customers that are businesses?
So there's air conditioning programs, and the lighting program is likely to be one of the bigger programs for commercial customers. Back in 1993 to 1999, when GPA did have a DSM program, it was stopped in 1999. Commercial lighting was the biggest projects.
Right, I can see that. Warehouses, big buildings, stores, malls, yeah.
So now, LED.
Yeah.
So again, I'll visit to say it's almost about the same percentage as our customer base in America. Because this has really, maybe a year or two that we really started rolling out more commercial. But they have rolling out from the, and again, mainly air conditioning.
And then most of the hotels have the the better performing or the newer air conditioners, energy efficient.
I'm not quite sure because again, these days the tourism is not here.
Yeah.
I think they're less apt to go in and invest and stuff. So, but I think in the future, it's a big, especially of course with the prices going, energy costs going up, and those business models might be okay. But I think that is surviving at this point.
I wonder if there's like even just local stock on island. Everybody has to like pre-order maybe.
So the program is there, and again, that 1.5 million really will go up and down with it depending on how the demand is.
Yeah. Speaking of the 1.5, that looks like you guys never really used the 1.5 for every 6 months, right? So it's always hovered at that 900,000, 700, 1.2.
There was a time here that we were, that's why we asked for the 1.5.
Right.
This time we did that, but then again, something slowed down. So,
Right.
so now we're right. We stopped it. We're trying to gain energy, we're ahead. And so that's what we were using to.
What's the rollout date for all this? Because we're looking at, this is every 6 months of the LEAC, so are we gonna see any kind of results in 6 months, in a year? Or you may have to come back and ask to readjust, or we can lower that LEAC rate if we're not spending the amount?
No, we haven't decided where to adjust it, but again, the adjustment if necessary will be in the 6 month year.
Right.
So right now, there's like Brett said, we stopped the, what you call it, the 0.0003 cent,
Right.
0.3%. And again, it just started to pick up, and then we start to get negative or whatever, then it's the time will come.
Then you conclude, okay. Thank you, John. Any further comments? Do we have a motion?
To approve GPA docket 2606.
Thank you, Joe. Any seconds?
Second.
We have second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I guess you guys can just stay there, you don't have to go anywhere. Next item on the docket is GPA docket 2608, petition of the Guam Power Authority for approval and authorization to solicit casualty insurance. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Christina?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm going to report on this docket, and this is relatively simple compared to what we just heard. So I think I can go pretty quickly. So Fred, I think I'll obviously. Okay, as stated, this is GPA's request for approval and authorization to solicit for casualty insurance. And it's for 3 fiscal years, FY 2027 through FY 2029, with the option motion for 2 additional 1-year extensions. GPA's current casualty insurance will expire on October 31st, 2026. In your ALJ report and your proposed order, there is some background here, just because I thought it would be important that the commissioners be reminded of some of the background concerning the casualty insurance. And starting with GPA docket number 24-02, that was the last time the PUC approved GPA's casualty insurance contract for FY 2024 with a 2 1-year renewal or a 3-year period. GPA's past line of insurance used to combine both the casualty and the property insurance, and it was awarded back in 2018. But in July of 2023, GPA did issue 2 separate procurements, and the justification back then was if one procurement got bogged down, the other could go forward. So in 2402 GPA docket, there was only one bidder who responded to the multi-step bid, and that price exceeded what GPA's price estimates were. So they canceled the procurement and they conducted sole source negotiations. They presented the casualty insurance contract to the PUC, and during the hearing there was concern by the PUC over what they saw as increased premiums. And Mr. Kim did opine back then that the increase in premiums were primarily with the professional insurance, mainly GPA engineers. He also did answer a question by the PUC that they hadn't had any casualty insurance claims for the past 6 years. At that time, the PUC did order GPA to conduct an evaluation to see about self-insurance, at least for the professional side of the casualty insurance. And they were ordered to notify the PUC in writing before awarding the casualty insurance contract. So on November 26, 2024, GPA did file GPA's report, RE self-insurance, for professional liability with PUC. And the report set forth that GPA's risk manager, Mr. Bolton with IMA Financial Group, opined that GPA should look to, instead of self-insuring, try to get higher deductibles, especially with the professionals. And he also pointed out that in the event that there was a claim with professional engineers, it required very sophisticated claims adjusters and sophisticated defense counsel. So I'm not sure if he thought Guam didn't have that, but it was his opinion that it would be better to seek the higher deductible rather than self-insure. So I did note in the report that the concern with the rising insurance premiums was also expressed by the PUC in GPA docket number 24-01 concerning the property insurance. And at that time, PUC, you did create a new docket on self-insurance to explore the possible use of self-insurance for matters presently covered by casualty and property insurance. That's just by way of background. I mean, I know we're just dealing with their request to solicit and put out a procurement for casualty. So now they're before us, seeking your authorization. The last contract that in PUC docket 24-02, that contract was for a period of 3 years, an amount of $2,064,968. GPA in its petition states that they anticipate that this procurement will exceed the 1.5 million threshold. PUC approval is required for this. In the petition, GPA does state that the procurement for the casualty insurance is necessary, reasonable, and prudent. Mainly it's the GPA's bond indenture agreement, which requires them to have insurance, even though, as been noted by the PUC and other dockets, that requirement is for reasonable insurance. So GPA does say because of the bond indenture agreement, it's necessary to avoid an event of default for them to procure the casualty insurance. GPA also presents in their petition that the procurement is reasonable, since it will act as a safety net to protect GPA against lawsuits, accidents, and third-party damages that could otherwise cause financial stress. And lastly, GPA does assert that the procurement is prudent because it will insure against risks that are known to be possible in the course of GPA's mission and operations. The PUC has consistently recognized that this insurance, the casualty insurance, is necessary, mainly because of the bond indenture agreement. And the PUC order in GPA docket number 24-02 02 dated October 26, 2023, the PUC did state without casualty insurance in place, GPA runs the risk of loss or liability for all matters for which the casualty insurance policy provides coverage. So it has been deemed by the PUC to be necessary, reasonable, and prudent. As such, this AOJ does recommend approval. I provided a proposed order that pretty much follows what I've just stated here and what is in the AOJ's report and available for questions.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay?
Comments from GPA?
Covered it very well.
Any questions, or is there a motion from the commissioners?
We really won't know the price because they're just going out
Yeah.
at this point. And then will we have to be prepared for sticker shock? What is your guesstimate? From just, because of the rising costs throughout.
The speaker is working. Oh, there it's working.
Take this one.
And do you have a consultant that advises you on your overall insurance policy?
NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox.
So we do have a consultant. His name is Riley Gale from IMA. So we do work with him. For this coming bid, before we did came much higher in this case, so we were able to negotiate a little bit down. This time around on the bid, he really recommends maintaining the current deductibles. However, we gotta look at options, like if it's 5,000, go to 10,000, and increase 25. But based on this option, determine what is the value. Because sometimes we could increase the deduction, but the deduction premium is not that high, because the problem, the loss is still there. So he says do like 5, 10, 25. So we'll be doing that, see, from there we determine which is more cost benefit, but then we'll provide that to the board and PUC and see which option is best for us.
And the consideration of self-insurance is not on the table.
He does, I mean, he says, because we don't have the history of loss is not there. You could save a lot of money if you don't insure it, but it does happen, you get sued, your cost is going to be much higher. So we do get sued a lot because of liability. So it is really, it's prudent to have insurance. I'm happy to probably increase more deductible. And if something does happen, you have coverage.
So, a few questions, John. So you mentioned earlier that you guys have the option to increase the deductibles.
Yes.
And then you're gonna try to average out, kind of do the cost analysis on the premiums.
Yes.
And then, because you mentioned that it's like 6 years and you haven't had any claims, so
Yes.
you're banking on no claims and going forward, correct?
Yes.
What happened on 7th year? What happened on year 7 when you had a claim? Because you only went 6 years, but what happened 7th year? How bad was that claim and what did it cost GPA?
7 years ago, we usually have claims for the general liability. So we do, because sometimes there's some surges in the network, the AC system will go down, or houses go on fire. Those incidents that happen, so those were covered by insurance.
Does that, you were talking about the engineers, the insurance for the engineers?
Yes, so
Yeah,
the reason.
no claims over 6 years.
Yeah, there was no claims on engineers. Before, the premiums was less than about $100,000. What happened during half a mile were, I think there were senators were trying to pass a bill authorizing GPA to service before you pay DPW. Because of that, the premium has gone up.
Have you had any claims?
Oh, no.
Engineers?
No, we
At
haven't
all?
had any.
So it's more than 6 years then?
Yes.
Okay.
So we do certify designs of transformers, designs of substations. So far, we've been really good.
Okay, so it sounds like the higher deductible route is probably.
Yes, that's why we gotta put options.
Yeah, to
increase
save
it.
some money.
Yeah, save some money.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? Or is there a motion?
What you're requesting today is not casualty insurance, right?
It's to authorizing us to do a procurement.
But it's not the procurement of casualties, it's general liability, commercial product.
Yeah, we just classify that as casualty insurance. So yes, there are multiple insurances that if you combine everything, most of the time it goes to one letter. And usually 1.5 in 3 years plus 2 options.
Basically, general coverage covers all of it.
So what we're asking for is general liability, auto liability, disorder, blanket crime, workers' comp, excess liability, third-gen officers, and professional liability.
But not property casualty.
No, we do that separately. The property will be coming in next year. We'll be asking for authorizing us to do it.
And I was just thinking that the estimated price of $2 million seems like it's way low if you're gonna include
Yes.
property and casualty.
After 3 and 4. John, who's the, when you originally went out to bid, get one bidder, who was that?
Yes, for quite some time, for the past 10 years, there was from Power Authority, there was always taking insurance.
So that was the initial bid and it was too high?
Yes.
It was the way it was, so you canceled it and then you tried to go sell it, and now you're putting it out to bid again.
So the last time we did, so we did a sole source, so we negotiated that, so we were able to reduce the price a little bit.
Okay.
But this time around, we gotta do it bid. Hopefully, we'll
So the sole
have-
source is not gonna happen anymore?
Yes,
You just gotta go based on the bid?
yes. Hopefully, there's more than one bidder.
My sole source can happen again.
Right.
And there is an opportunity for us
To go out and check.
to get it done, to negotiate that. But if there's 2 bidders, then
Right. Okay.
I move to approve the petition to solicit insurance as reflected in the proposal.
Thank you, Mike. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor? Aye. GPA docket 2608 is approved. Next item on the docket is GPA docket 2609. Petition of the Guam Power Authority to approve award performance management contract for combustion turbine power plants. We have a legal counsel report and proposed order. Anthony?
Buenas tardes, Angela. Zan Viva, Mr. Moro. So, basically, what GPA is requesting in its amended petition is that the PUC approve award the new PMC contract for GPA's CT power plants to Mariana's Energy Corporation, or MEC, for about $4 million for the contract's 3-year base term and 2 optional 1-year extensions at $1.3 million per year for a total amount of $6.6 million. GPA plans on using its revenue funds to pay those costs. Now, the scope of this particular PMC is inclusive of the Geddio CT, the Machechi CT, the Gigo CT, and the PD7 CT. I give a brief description of where each and every one of these plants is located, but I'm pretty sure by now all the commissioners know where they are. I do have to say, though, that the PD plant is located at or near the original PD power plant. Basically, on March 1st, 2016, GPA entered into a 5-year PMC with Temis. And the scope of that PMC was for the Dededo CT, Mechechi CT, Jigo CT, PD7 CT, and the Tenjo, Vista, Telefofo, and Linden power plants. On November the 30th, 2020, the PUC approved a 5-year extension of that PMC contract, but only for the Dededo CT, the Mechechi CT, and the Jigo CT plants. On September the 25th, 2025, the PUC approved another 5-month extension of the PMC contract. This time it included the Dededo CT, Mechechi CT, Jigo CT, PD7 CT, and then also the Tenjo, Vista, Telefofo, and the Nengen power plants. And this PMC will expire on or about July 31st of this year. On January 30th, 2025, the PUC authorized GPA to solicit for a new PMC, but for only the Dededo CT, the Mechechi CT, the Jigo CT, and the PD7 CT plants. GPA subsequently issued a solicitation for that service. 2 bidders, Temis and NBC, made it to phase 2 of the multi-step bid process. GPA determined that NBC submitted the lowest bid because for the contract's base term plus extensions, which was the basis of the award, Temis bid $7.8 million and NBC bid $6.6 million. On February the 24th, 2026, the CCU authorized GPA's general manager to award the NBC the PMC for GPA CT power plants, subject, of course, to the PUC's approval. Now, in accordance with GPA's contract review protocol, GPA has to obtain the PUC's approval here because the $6.6 million amount of this contract exceeds the $1.5 million GPA contract review threshold. Now, I determined that the $6.6 million cost of the PMC contract is reasonable. Basically, the 5-year extension of the existing PMC contract cost about $7.3 million. Here, the 3-year the total 5 years with the extensions, inclusive of the extensions, is going to be about $642K cheaper than the existing PMC contract for the same time period. And I also found that this reduction in cost is likely the result of 2 factors. First, the existing PMC contract includes Tenjo, Vista, Telefofo, and Nengen power plants, and the new PMC contract does not. But I think that the biggest factor is price competition. What does it look like when you have actual price competition, i.e. more than one bidder for the service? Well, you get something like this. So, as a result of the actual price competition, NBC's $6.6 million bid was $1.1 million less than Temis' $7.8 million bid. I found that as a result of the price competition and the reduction in the scope of services, the $6.6 million cost of the PMC is reasonable. I also found that the contract is prudent. PUC has previously found that PMCs for GPA CT plants ensure that the CT plants achieve sufficient system capacity and further upgraded capacity, and that PMCs for the CT plants is consistent with GPA's long-standing policy of seeking private contractors to manage GPA's generation assets. Additionally, GPA attached a draft PMC contract. It does contain all the standard provisions for the protection of GPA and ratepayers, such as bid and performance bond requirements, insurance and indemnification clauses, termination for cause or convenience, performance guarantees, and it requires NBC to take responsibility for the management, operation, and maintenance of the CT units. Hence, the PMC contract is approved. Now, is the continued operation of the CT plants still necessary in light of Bukidoo power plant coming online and in light of the phase 4 renewable projects eventually coming online? I looked at that and the answer is yes. Here's why. So, GPA requires the potential 129 megawatts of the CT plants to provide peak support for production at night during peak demand periods and during periods of baseload unit outages or lower solar unit production, such as prolonged overcast or rainy days, such as what we're experiencing with the weather now. Additionally, the PUC has previously found that the generation capacity of GPA CT plants must be maintained because of anticipated, almost like military equipment. Anticipated military, commercial, and local government projects, which could increase load demand by over 100 megawatts by 2030, which is only a 4-year period from now. Hence, I found that the Peterson contract is necessary. I recommend that the PUC approve this contract, and I did include an order that would do that for the PUC's review and consideration. So just, Rossi, I didn't understand.
Thank you, Anthony. Comments on GPA?
The CPs have just moved in, their peakers and intermediate loads, but they've been operating at base load for several years now. So our process now is really to go in there, do the rehabilitation, get them ready. All of that is needed. I agree certainly with Anthony. Because even the Ukudu Park has to be overhauled program, and then you can't run anything else until you do that overhaul. So you need the research. And again, we're not looking at about 2028, 2029 with the batteries. Someday, way in the future, we can look at that again. Right now, I think we still are.
Thanks, John. I'm just curious, you mentioned that you guys are running an average of 266 or so in peak, and you've been steady over the last couple of years, in spite of growth because of demand side. What, at 266, what is, with all the CTs that we have and with Okudu, what is our maximum capacity that we can generate?
Right now, we're very fortunate. We have about 450 megawatts.
Megawatts right now? Okay.
You asked me last year, we had 320.
Right.
And load shedding groups, right?
Right.
So now we have 450, but we have to retire Cabras 1 and 2, which is about 40 of that. So now you're down to 410. And then Agreco, the $11 million a year contract goes away after July, so it will be at 390 and stuff. But then the good news is in the contract is February 2028. However, if you pass by Windward Hill, the thing is really moving. They're trying to get that on the line before the end of 2027. So that adds another 67 megawatts of batteries. And then the others start coming in. So we'll be fine, I believe, but it's just that includes the CT. Now, of course, Okudu can only run up to 204, no? 198, but unfortunately to get the 204. So all the others, PB8 and 9, or CTs will be, first of all, the PB8 and 9 will be the first ones to cover up to the 260s, 280s. And then from there, the other peakers, because PB now is the second most efficient, no? Units. So, and then the peak now we're projecting could be in the 320 by 2029, 2030. I think it's a creeper right now with all this things that are happening.
Okay, thank you.
So good news about capacity. I'm not worried about it coming up.
You have enough just to be able to take down and take down one for maintenance.
Until we get more and more the batteries on.
Right.
And of course, we'll take it down in January when the load is down.
Right.
But again, now we can start really looking closer.
So when Okudu goes down, okay, how much then the CTs will be able to pick it up? And how many Ukudos are there? You know, I know you said 198, but is that 2, 3, or 1?
There's 4 units, but 3 primary movers, no? 3 combustion turbines.
So there are about, what, 60 to 70 when one goes down?
Each one is about 45.
Oh, 45.
And then they produce from the gas that comes out from their stack. They run heat recovery boilers and produce another 66 megawatts. So there's the 4th unit. So the combination of all this gives you the efficiency. When you take this away, the efficiency is even less efficient than PDA. And the other thing is you can't run, when the all these machines are down, you have to run everything else. You can't run all the combustion turbines more than 1 month at a time. So usually, so that's why we still need the reserves, and that's why the batteries are going to come on. And then another reason we're going to try and get I'm going to look for permission to do what they call a PSD evaluation of the air and everything on the full load operation of the combustion turbines. And that will take a 2 or 3 year process, so then we can have it where one machine, or you know, the steam turbine is down, but we can still run the other machine. Okay, so this is in the pipeline now.
So when, I know that Ukudo is still new, but when are you expecting the first turbine to undergo the maintenance? What's your estimate?
Very, very good question.
Oh.
4 years. So 26, about 29, 2030.
Really?
The way it works, the individual turbines have their own PM schedule, but the steam turbine, the most critical one, it's once every 4 years.
Okay.
And then they go in, they take a look, they see what's worn, and whatever is worn, then they order the parts and everything for the next overhaul 4 years. So Canvas 1 and 2, and maybe Miller, has been that process once every 5 years. Because the steam turbine are usually quite reliable on all of that. It's just that you do have to look at it, there's normal wear and tear with blades and all of that, something you have to replace. And you have to have it manufactured and everything. So if we could do about, what to say, about maybe 29, 2030.
So the steam turbine is every 4 years and the other 3 are,
Could be once a year, or it could be just short term, maybe $1,000, $1,000. They'll vary with it.
but the CTs should be able to support when they're down. Because this is going to be a new one, because this is like a new campus, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know the timing, the 67 megawatts coming on the line 2027. So the CTs, the renewables that we have,
Okay.
everything should be.
Battery storage.
And the battery storage at 90 megawatts. Because the way it's working out now is that at the end of the year we'll have 390, right? But by 2029 or so we'll have 620.
And it's renewable.
That's award of all of phase 4. There's only 2 more left in the pipeline.
But at that time, we're gonna need 750.
Yeah, at that time, what we did is we're like this with capacity and the growth is something like this, so we still, yeah, so I think we just want to breathe for a while. Right?
Exactly. Now we were talking about military growth, 100 megawatts, who knows what's happening? Which I just wanted to ask, is GPA experiencing any delays in their oil shipments or any kind of, anything that we need to worry about or concern?
I hope not. And again,
So far, so good.
as we all know, what's Fox News and the,
CNN.
CNN.
YouTube, yeah, YouTube.
When are you planning to order your next?
Anymore, but, so anyway, I know that the shipment is being prepared, for the next one is gonna be here on the 15th of April. And,
So it's already in the water?
bill rating is like, the 4th to the 7th. And so the bill rating is when they load up the ship.
And that's when you pay?
But we get ours from
And
like Singapore.
they take the 5 published days before the bill rating and 5 published days after. So,
But ours.
in other words, right now, we were to be buying oil, we'll be paying about $213 a barrel.
Wow.
So I've been tracking 11 days. The first day that makes an impact on our next shipment is the 29th next week. The 29, 30, all those days. So I'm hoping something goes done. If not, I will, doesn't go.
You say $213 a barrel?
Yeah, based on the
Is that the highest
number.
you've ever paid?
Because again, this is refined product.
Right.
Not the crude.
Right.
The other thing, again, if you, where I really got smart, because straight from moose,
Right.
all of that is going to Asia. So
That's where
we're,
you get yours.
that's where we get our products from, Singapore, no?
Right.
So we're really impacted by this, whereas in the States, if you notice, they go up to $100 a barrel in crude or so, right? Even, I think even a similar product is somewhere in the neighborhood of 170 over 200 something dollars a barrel. So yeah, that's the first day, and that's the window I'm looking anywhere from March 29 to April 10. That's our pricing period. So hopefully good news in that period of time. So what are we looking at? If $200 some a barrel, we're looking at about $50 million cargo versus a typical $25 million cargo. But we have to order.
Right.
So what are we going to do in the future? Once we get all our tanks fixed, once this oil comes down, then we can buy oil. We can store oil as much as 4 to 6 months of capacity, so that we don't have this impact again. But again, we don't want to fuel that up too fast until the pricing comes down. But it's kind of a little off where, again, the other tanks still got the 1935 it's paid down when we got into August.
Well,
Right now we're rolling within 30 and 60 days of inventory. So we tried to cut down the volume, but it's already consigned, and again, it's a fine line. I don't play too much with pricing and not get the product. So, and that was your question. But
I'd like to start with any of the delays, because right now it's just, it hasn't shipped yet, right? So I know it's impacting Asia. We're starting to see it also just in terms of delays with people can't find gas and
so
can't go
we've been assured
to
that
work.
this next one is coming. There is some uncertainty depending on what happens now about future cargoes, depending on the availability of all that.
Can you let us know when it ships, just to make sure that it's on the water?
So is it?
Can you let us know when it ships?
Yeah.
When it's actually on the water?
Yeah, actually, I plan to be sending you the pricing so that you're not wondering, so that you know, okay, this is what it is, right?
Right.
And so I'm tracking all of that now and all of that. But yeah, they're going to be loaded on the 4th to the 7th, maybe here 15. This is about a 7-day journey. Then the next cargo one had to be ordered. We wanted to stretch it until the end of May, but we may just order it in the middle of May.
Okay. Sorry to veer off the PMC issue, but any other comments on the GPA docket? 2609? Or a motion?
Steve.
Move to approve the GPA request to award the PMC to MEC as reflected in the proposed order.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, GPA. Okay, next item is some administrative matters. We have a PUC legal counsel report on status of legislation that may impact utility rates. Who's this?
That's fine, Mr. Chair. Basically, this was one of my duties under my contract, and so I basically looked at all the laws that the 38th legislature was built. The 38th legislature either, basically referred to committee, or actually enacted into law, which were vetoed, and I listed them here. Just a couple of highlights. So one of them is the approval. Sorry, there's quite a few of them, but I'll just burn one. So one of them is the enacted a law in which allows the use of electronically published newspapers to satisfy the open government law notices. So we are still using the Guam Daily Post because it's the only newspaper that's physically published, but we could also use the PDN that's digitally published pursuant to that law. The other law.
Did that pass?
Yes, it did.
Oh.
As listed here. Sorry, it's one of these, I'm not going to take the time to go through it. But the other law that's, the other couple of laws that are of note that have passed and been enacted. So the legislature approved for the Tomorrow Land Trust Commission to allow a change in the use of the Guam Municipal Golf Course as a solar farm.
Oh, wow.
And then recently, I want to say just, so that became law. Recently, I want to say it was like a week or two ago, I believe it was the Tomorrow Land Use Commission pursuant to that law, basically approved the use of that land for a solar farm. So that's one thing that we might see, the end of one of our dockets, which is golf. Okay. Because that might be the end of the municipal golf course, or likely will be the end of the municipal golf course. It'll be a solar farm. And then finally, the legislature, as you already know, did approve the island-wide collection plan for Guam solid waste with some exemptions. So those are the three things to note during this term of the 38th legislature. Subject to your questions, the rest is just for your information.
You have 28 bills.
That's correct. That might impact rate.
Those are the highlight threes.
Those are the three I highlighted that became law.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, so not all of these became law. It's just that some were vetoed.
Enacted, please. Okay, thank you, Anthony. Next item is next item of administrative matters is FY 2025 ethics certification.
Yes, this is also just for your information. Basically, this is just a copy of our report that we sent to the Guam Ethics Commission showing that we have, I think it's 100% compliance with the ethics training. So all commissioners should this report are currently in compliance with the ethics training requirements. And so are the members of the PUC administrative staff. This is with myself.
Okay. And last item is the clarification on accounting procedures for legal counsel.
Yes, this was a question posed by Commissioner Brooks. And I did look into it. So, in accordance with 12 GCA Section 12103B, which is the PUC's Enabling Act, the commission may appoint an attorney who shall serve at the pleasure of the commission, and whose duties, which may include service as the commission's administrative law judge, shall be fixed by the commission. So you have the authority pursuant to this law, as well as my contract, to assign the regulatory tasks, as well as the day-to-day administrative tasks, which I'm being paid for. It also states, that statute also states, the commission is authorized to establish by rule of order that each public utility regulated under this chapter shall be assessed the costs incurred by the commission for professional services rendered by the PUC's attorney. Now, so what that means is currently the status quo, and that is the precedent. Basically, when we had attorneys who were private contractors or independent contractors, they billed for both the administrative duties of the PUC as well as for the regulatory hours. This statutory authority will allow that status quo to continue, should you choose. Okay. Whereby I do receive my pay, but I also basically bill and receive payment, remuneration for the regulatory hours like the other ALJs. That is the status quo right now. There is an order whereby I think it's $250 an hour, so on and so forth. Now it doesn't have to remain the status quo. You do have some options. So I see two other options over and above the status quo. So
Could I just interject
go
here?
ahead.
Yeah. So what I recall from our discussion with the chairman and you, Fred, when we were discussing hiring in-house legal counsel. And one of the discussions was that when you do the regulatory work, like the one you just did today, okay, that could help offset some of the administrative costs of your salary. So for example, if you were to, I'm expecting you to bill GPA for the work you just did on this last docket.
I haven't yet until this issue's resolved.
Yeah, well, that's my expectation, that we would bill GPA for the regulatory work that you did for that particular docket. And then,
But that payment goes to the PUC
yes.
to offset
and-
his salary.
To offset his salary, exactly. So that's the gist of this discussion.
Right. So is that the way you see it?
Well, that's not quite the status quo, but if you directed it could be, okay? But there's a caveat to that, okay? So just be reminded that all the utilities, including GPA, are assessed assessed a portion of all the administrative costs of the PUC. So my salary is actually being paid for pursuant to those annual assessments to all the utilities. Okay? But one of the options is, so rather than I submit, status quo is I would submit my regulatory hours, basically they would pay the PUC and the PUC would pay me. Okay. One option is this. So, because they already are paying my salary, not all, just a proportion of it, but with the billing, they could be assessed a proportional cost, or like let's say, so instead of an across the board assessment, where all the costs are divided by the number of utilities, if I'm spending more time with GPA, for example, or GWA, they would pay a greater proportion of those costs based on the hours.
Well, what I had in mind, because we really don't know, which docket you're going to work on throughout the year. And so whatever offset, because our total budget was, I can't remember now, but I'll just round it off to 600,000. And let's just say because of your regulatory fees, it lowered it by 50,000 as an example. So instead of billing everybody 600, we'll bill them 550 as an example.
Yeah, I
As a
was-
guesstimate of what we think your regulatory fees might help lower.
Well, that's the third option,
Yeah.
basically, so, it's kind of the same thing. So I would bill the, PUC, the 250, or I would bill the, GPA, the, $250 an hour. But instead of paying me, the PUC would keep the money,
Correct.
and use that to offset the, regulatory hours. But
Yes,
just,
or our administrative costs.
yeah, but just, be expecting that, they're already paying your salary.
Yes, well,
And the other thing about me in particular, and just because I've been doing this since 2017, almost a decade, I can't do all the dockets.
No, no, I
And do the
understand that.
administration. So we
But-
are still gonna need the other
Yeah,
LJs for
But
the.
what
foreseeable
happened this
future.
year, what happened this year was that the budget went up more than $100,000 because we had to hire legal counsel, okay? And so on a going forward basis, like, we can, pardon the expression, stem the growth from the offset of him, of his hours not just being devoted to admin work, but also to regulatory work.
Can we get just maybe some kind of benchmark, if I can ask Fred, since prior to all this, you were pretty much the ALJ and the legal counsel for when I first came aboard, and then you had maybe some other, I don't even know if there was any other ALJs at the time. You weren't on salary, but you were just billing for your services, correct?
Correct.
Right, so whether you did.
But I would also bill.
But he would
PUC
distinguish
For
between
for
the
legal
two.
counsel.
administrative work.
Yeah.
Administrative
And then
work,
the
right.
utilities for
So
regular.
now we brought in, we hired a position for the administrative work part of it, right?
Well, no,
And-
not purely administrative.
Correct, because it is.
Because we knew Anthony had done regulatory, and that was part of the discussion that we had, that his total salary wouldn't just be all administrative, that it would also include some regulatory work.
Right, okay.
Okay, there was that understanding. What percentage, we won't know until later on.
Right.
Well,
We can
historically,
cross that.
historically for the, if I keep the same number of dockets I've been working on the last 9 years, it's kind of a small number, it only comes out to, I want to say, on the high side.
Well, you were
10 to
actually one of the
20,000.
lowest fees.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's also because I've been at this for decades. And basically, and plus I didn't have as many of them.
Yeah.
So, but on average, if I kept that up, it would do, I want to say 10 to 20K a year.
Yeah.
Additional.
Yeah, I mean, that's a potential, if you're looking for a number that you could potentially use to lower, that would
But
be,
right
yeah.
now, this is just information purposes, and we have to, just.
Yeah, no action's needed
No
now,
actions.
but,
Oh, it's more for to get an understanding
Yeah, right.
and.
Which seems like we need to have some kind of
Yeah.
path towards finalizing this.
Yeah,
So there's no
because
misunderstandings.
we are going to have to create some accounts, because when he bills, that billing, and then the different offsets.
Right.
So I'll have to have a discussion with Lou and the rest of the gang.
How many's included, and then what he doesn't carry, we have
Yes,
the other ALJs to carry on to
Yes.
still, so. yeah.
And then, in accordance with that statute, 12 GCA section 12103B, that would have to be a rule, which the commission as a whole would vote on
Correct.
to become effective. A rule, well, it says by rule or order, so.
Oh.
Because right now, it's status quo.
we're still feeling our way.
Yeah,
So
I
we're-
haven't billed, so.
Right,
I'm not
but you
gonna-
have the ability to bill right now, because it's status quo right now.
Yeah,
And you're saying
well,
that, that's our current rule right now.
yeah, that's the status quo right
Which
now, but I'm
okay.
kind of withholding on that. I do have to say though that I was kind of behind on my billing before I started working on March the 1st, so I will have to bill those. I think it goes back to December. But those are the my regular billings from before I was hired.
Correct, when you're ALJ.
Yeah, when I was, just the outside legal counsel. But that shouldn't be that much.
Does that impact our
just ask
ability
you
to build
this.
utilities?
Yeah, just like this recent GPA one, is that pre or post?
That's solely, that's my first docket done as a
Okay.
full-time employee.
So
of the PUC.
that's the one I'm referring to, because the pre-stuff, we already know what to do with that. It's the new stuff.
Right.
Under his term as legal counsel.
Yeah.
Because we are going to have to create a couple of new accounts on the balance sheet and income statement to record that post-activity.
Right.
We could, in the interim, we could put this on the next meeting's agenda and perhaps get a proposed rule once.
Once we
Commissioner-
see the building and we'll figure out how to handle it. Yeah.
Once we see the first building?
Well, once he presents the building to GPA, you know, then we have to go through the motion of, the income side is going to be easy, because we already know. It's the debit side, how we're gonna handle it.
Okay.
I already have an idea, but I just wanted to open up the discussion to make sure my idea was okay.
Right, because if not, then we'd have to adjust the budgets for next year.
Well, that will be taken into account.
Right, okay. Okay, any other comments or discussions?
No.
Or motion to adjourn? This meeting is adjourned. As chair, I'm just gonna adjourn.
If I say nothing, I'm gonna walk out anyway.